let's look at this objectively, honestly, and ask the question, did Guerrilla Hebrew present sources that back his arguments? And I put this together in a PowerPoint slide, so I'm going to go through things one point after another. Hopefully this will be clear to you. So let's start here. Professor Harry Abramson, let's listen to what Guerrilla Hebrew says about Professor Harry Abramson and his position.
So I want to take you guys to a man by the name of Dr. Henry Abramson, right? And he's notable for his teachings on Jewish history and Judaism as a religion. He was assistant and later associate professor of history and Jewish studies at Florida Atlantic University from 96 to 06. And during that time, he held appointments at a number of prestigious universities such as Oxford, Cornell, Harvard, and Hebrew University. He received his PhD in history from the University of Toronto. Dr. Michael Brown has even recently referenced his work on his Line of Fire show to assist a caller in understanding Jews in the diaspora, right? So he's a very qualified man and somebody who Dr. Michael Brown recognizes as credible, right? When describing the founding and genetic bottleneck event for the Ashkenazi Jews, he names the Kalonymus family as the nucleus thereof. Sometime around the year 800 CE, a small group of Jews, he says, left northern Italy. The Kalonymus family, for example, they made their way to the Rhineland in contemporary Germany. Those people formed the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry. So according to Dr. Henry Abramson, this Kalonymus family is a former of the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry.
All right, so let's review what Guerrilla Hebrew said. He said of Professor Harry Abramson, quote, he is a very qualified man and someone whom Dr. Michael Brown recognizes as credible. When describing the founding and bottleneck event for the Ashkenazi Jews, he names the Kalonymus family as the nucleus thereof. Actually, he doesn't do that. We'll see that in a moment. Professor Abramson, sometime around the year 800 CE, a small group of Jews left northern Italy, The Kalonymus family, for example. The Kalonymus family is not the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jewry, but one of many families that form the nucleus. So let's look at this more carefully, all right? They made their way to Rhineland in contemporary Germany. Those people formed the nucleus of Ashkenazi Jews, not the Kalonymus family. The Kalonymus family, among many others. For example, what do you think there are all the dots there? Because Guerrilla Hebrew didn't tell you the rest of what he said. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen to what Professor Harry Abramson, according to Guerrilla Hebrew, a very qualified man. Listen to what he has to say about the origins of Ashkenazi Jews.
The enduring questions in Jewish history has been like, how exactly did the Ashkenazi Jews get there? And there are a few different models of migration. Here, have a look at this map, which takes advantage of new research available through DNA studies. And the model, which seems to be the most definitive, and in fact the study that I'll look at with you today seems to confirm it, indicates that most Ashkenazi Jews, or at least a plurality of them, have their roots in the Middle East, of course in the region of ancient Israel, with a strong admixture of Italian DNA, meaning that they migrated from the ancient site of Israel through the Italian peninsula before they made their way to the heartland of Ashkenaz in northern Europe. There's also a significant admixture of Sephardic Jewry. You see them coming from the Iberian Peninsula after perhaps a trek across North Africa, and then moving into Provence, the south of France, and then up into the Ashkenazic heartland. But the main trend of migration, which has historically been accepted based on literary evidence, like the Kalonymus family settling there and so on, has always been through the Italian peninsula. And some partial DNA results have indicated that there's support for that.
All right, so he's telling you right here that the majority of Ashkenazi Jews trace their roots back to the Middle East, ancient Israel. That's the very thing that I have been saying, not to some alleged Khazar conversion centuries later, but to ancient Israel. That's where my ancestors come from. That's what Professor Harry Abramson said. Remember, according to Guerrilla Hebrew, he is a very reliable, very credible source. But there's more. Let's listen to more from Professor Abramson.
But I'm very grateful to my colleague, Dr. Ellie Dolgan, who is a science writer who shared with me this fascinating preprint study that's going to be appearing in a very prestigious journal soon. And it gave us the results of a new study that comes out of Erfurt, Germany. Let me show you that study and explain how it depicts in much greater detail the genetic history of early Ashkenazi Jews. So first of all, it's dealing with this site in Germany, the city of Erfurt, which has a known, well-documented Jewish community living there. The title of the article is Genome-wide Data from Medieval German Jews Show that the Ashkenazi Founder Event predated the 14th century. And there are over 20 authors from really prestigious institutions all over the world, led by S. Waldman, putting together this amazing piece of research. It's about 100 pages long in total. I was so fascinated to read it.
This is the most recent detailed study, genetic study, top prestigious scholars, peer-reviewed research on the origins of Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, more from Professor Abramson.
Then there is a significant historical displacement with the Roman Jewish Wars, starting with the Great War from 66 to 74 of the Common Era. A massive number of Jews are displaced from ancient Israel and taken as slaves to Rome. That number is expanded with the Bar Kokhba rebellion 70-odd years later. And there's already an existing Jewish diaspora community living in the Italian peninsula, so that's when you have a significant population of Jews moving to that part of the world. So beginning in the 1st, 2nd century in particular, you have Jews who are also marrying South Italians and then later North Italians, and the genetic base of those Jews who are displaced to Italy is naturally expanded by their connections with other people.
So his ancestors, my ancestors, we are both Ashkenazi Jews. He's saying go back to ancient Israel and can be traced directly back to Jews who were sold into slavery in Rome after the first Jewish revolt in the year 70 AD. So almost 2,000 years ago, sold into slavery in Rome. Other Jews were already living there in Italy in the diaspora. And then from there, over time, intermarrying with Italians, so these, especially women, converting into Judaism and now joining the Jewish community, etc. So this is what Professor Abramson said, that we go back to ancient Israel, and we can even trace directly to communities in ancient Rome after the first Jewish revolt in the 1st century of this era, 2,000 years back. Okay, one more clip.
And basically,